Tap, tap your way to sobriety. Hey kids, welcome back. Time for your snippet. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sober Living Snippets, where we do what? We learn how to live alcohol-free so we can feel youthful again. And trust me, you do. Heal up those relationships, get rid of the regret and shame, and just overall feel amazing. So welcome, I'm Becca Jacobson. Let's get this show on the road. Today and all this week, we're talking about different strategies or techniques that we can use to get sober. Wanted to fill you in on a few of them, just 5 of many, many, many options that are out there. Today, we're talking about tapping, EFT, also known as tapping. Let's start with what is EFT? What is EFT? Well, you know what? Depending on where you look, you'll find it called different things. Some people call it an emotional freedom technique. Others call it emotionally focused therapy. That's the 2 that I found. There's probably more. EFT, an emotionally focused therapy or emotional freedom technique. The point here is that it is focusing on our emotions. Most people just call it tapping. Okay, what is tapping? Tapping is moving the energy in the meridian points of the body, which is the same idea that is behind acupuncture. Right? So acupuncturists will put their needles on pressure points, which are thought to be the energy points in the body. And that will change the way the energy flows, which affects our emotions. Well, tapping uses the same points, the meridian points, where energy is thought to flow. And instead of needles, we tap using our fingers. We just tap those points, and that moves the energy around and it brings us down emotionally. It can really settle us down. So I've done a few classes on this. I'm not trained to walk you through a tapping session, but I've been to some classes myself. I wanted to try it out, see what it's like. And the fact of the matter is that it did make me feel calmer. It did make me feel good. It did make me feel emotionally more stable, which is great. But how does this work for addiction? Well, I think it could be obvious to all of us. You know, those of us who suffer from a desire to drink, when we're trying to cope, when we're emotionally, wound up, alcohol, we believe, helps us. So it's pretty obvious that if we can use tapping, if tapping helps to calm us emotionally, of course, it could help with cravings. And they have found that indeed it does work for some people. Right? You're having a craving, and not just alcohol, but any addiction, sugar, food, whatever it is, and our emotions are getting the better of us. If we can sit down and do a little tapping session for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a few minutes, whatever long, doesn't take that long, we can actually tap through the craving, right? It's also good for all sorts of other things like anxiety and depression. They're using it for all sorts of things. So, I guess it's a lot easier than going and finding an acupuncturist and getting the needles put where they need to be and getting acupuncture. We can sit, and it's not hard to learn how to do it for ourselves, and we can tap for a few minutes and settle ourselves down. I mean, why not? That sounds beautiful to me. Now, will it get us sober long term? Well, the jury's out, right? The jury is out on that. I would argue, and the research that I found backs this up. We're triggered, we want to drink, we can sit down, we can tap ourselves out of it, but it's not going to stop those cravings. It's not going to stop whatever triggers us to drink. It's not going to help us to recover long term. It's more of a short-term, in-the-moment strategy for overcoming the desire to drink in the moment, which is amazing and wonderful. So I think what I found reading up on this week and last week was that tapping is a great addition to our recovery plan. We really should have a longer term recovery plan. We shouldn't be doing it alone. We should be working on our past to clean up the garbage, which is, what I help my clients do. We should be doing all sorts of things, but tapping is a great little strategy to have in your back pocket when you've got a craving about to hit. And so I would say to you, why not go ahead and learn how to do it? You can find a YouTube video and learn how to do it in a few minutes. And give it a whirl. See what that feels like for you. It can't hurt you. You're just gently tapping the meridian points on the body, and the video will teach you where those are. And while you're tapping, you're thinking beautiful thoughts. Different teachers teach it differently. The one class I took that I found to be the most effective was we were doing affirmations at the same time that we were tapping. So we're moving the energy. The tapping itself just calms us down. It's just gentle tapping. And at the same time, we were doing a positive affirmations. And I found that incredibly soothing. So I would argue, why not? Why not learn tapping? But I do not recommend it, and I didn't find anyone who did recommend it as your one and only path to sobriety. It's more of a little addition to your arsenal of tools that you're going to use on the journey to full recovery. And yes, that is the goal, full recovery, where you're no longer, alcohol is no longer a problem in your life. And yes, that is possible. But I mean, think about it. If you're a person who suffers from anxiety or other emotional upsets, being able to sit down and tap, what a wonderful addition to your arsenal of, why not? And meditation is similar. I wouldn't call meditation a strategy in itself that, okay, I'm going to use meditation and meditation alone to get sober. And I don't think I mentioned that when I was talking about it the other day. So I wanted to bring that up here. Again, it's an amazing addition to our daily routine that helps keep us centered, helps us learn what's going on between our ears, helps us get better control of our own thoughts. But it's not just, oh, I'm meditating my way to sobriety. We really do need a recovery plan built around that meditation practice. And I apologize for not mentioning that the other day. As I said, meditation is one of the 12 steps. So, one out of 12 steps is meditation. So it's not just the one way it's not just meditating, right? So it turns out so far this week, what I'm finding out, there's a theme starting to emerge here. What we're finding out is that the strategies we're looking at are great tools to have in our toolkit, but none of them so far are a path to sobriety in and of themselves. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it turns out, and we've got a couple of more days here, but I'll just give you a heads up, a clue to how I'm going to wrap this all up on Friday. But it turns out that we need a more robust sobriety plan, a more robust recovery plan than just this tool or that tool. But we're going to talk about that on Friday, and I'm sure you're seeing that pattern emerge yourself, though. The same is true of creative visualization, but of all of them so far, I would argue that it's the one that actually could, on its own, bring you to a life that is not haunted by alcohol. Because if you become adept at creative visualization, you can actually change your life. So of all of these strategies, I think that's the one that maybe stands the most on its own. But even there, I wouldn't recommend just doing that alone. Again, you need a community behind you. You need to learn how to do it. You need accountability so that you will follow through and do it consistently, right? This is true of all of these. So there it is, kids. We now know what EFT or tapping is and how we can use it on our journey. I hope you found that helpful. I'll be back tomorrow with somatic healing therapy. Maybe that's the one that's going to be the full program for us. Stick around, come back tomorrow and find out for sure. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.